Hey guys, DC Network here, coming at you with another video. Megas XLR feels like one of the more forgotten series from Cartoon Network's past. It came out all the way back on May 1st of the year 2004 and concluded on January 15th of the following year, 2005. It went on for 2 seasons consisting of 26 episodes, but had less than a year run on the channel. And I feel like because of that, it gets lost in the fray when you think of Cartoon Network originals from that era. Megas XLR was a show that I liked as a kid back in the day. I don't remember it all too well given that I was pretty young at the time when I was watching this show, but it was a series that always had a cool appeal to it and is a series that definitely has a dedicated fan base attached to it. I see people comment on my videos from time to time saying, hey, they should make a Megas XLR revival series or a reboot of the show, and apparently this was something that was actually in the works over at Cartoon Network. So recently, Secret Galaxy made a video titled The History of the Mostly Forgotten Megas XLR, which again, like I said before, I agree. I think Megas XLR is a forgotten Cartoon Network original. I have not seen this video. I don't know what they talk about in the video, but definitely check it out if you're interested. But the reason I'm discussing this video is because the top comment when you click on it is from the co-creator of Megas XLR, Jody Schaefer. And Jody basically says, thanks for the shout out. Feels good to know we weren't completely forgotten. Fun fact, due to international sales and iTunes, Megas made its money back. We got greenlit for a reboot a few years back, then David Zaslav took over Warner Brothers and shut the whole thing down again. Wait, that fact isn't fun at all. This is rather interesting to be hearing that apparently there was a Megas XLR reboot in the works over at Cartoon Network when Warner Media was still owned by AT&T before the whole Warner Brothers Discovery merger ever happened. It's really strange to me to be hearing this because, like I said, Megas XLR to me was always a really cool show. I enjoyed it as a kid. It had some great aesthetics. I know, like I said before, it has a dedicated fan base attached to it, but it is one of Cartoon Network's more forgotten shows. It's a show that many people don't really talk about. I'm kind of curious why they exactly chose to actually reboot Megas XLR over all of the other options they possibly had at their disposal. Like, don't get me wrong, I would have welcomed this show and I think it would have been a great addition to Cartoon Network's lineup, especially given that we really don't have any sort of grittier action shows on the channel right now. I think this would have filled that void rather well. But when you think about all of the Cartoon Network series that people are clamoring to return, such as Ben 10, such as Teen Titans, people wanting to see a season 6. I know that's a Warner Brothers animation production, not Cartoon Network Studios. People wanted to see Galactic Kids Next Door come into the fray. They wanted to see that Girl Vs. a Billy and Mandy revival movie that Maxwell Adams teased a few years back, and instead of greenlighting any of those, they decided to greenlight a Megas XLR reboot. Again, I would have welcomed it, but it just seems like a rather odd choice when you look at all of the other series that people are clamoring to return. Like, even Sym-Bionic Titan to me would have been a choice that I would have imagined Cartoon Network would have picked first over bringing back Megas XLR. Either way though, I think Megas XLR returning would be a cool thing to see on Cartoon Network. As Jody said though, apparently this is something that was greenlit by Tom Asching and his regime when it was still Warner Media before the whole Warner Brothers Discovery merger happened, and then once that merger happened, David Zaslav pulled the plug on it and said, who needs more Megas XLR? People didn't know what it was in the first place, which I don't love that. I feel like if this merger never happened, I think Cartoon Network would have a much stronger presence today than it actually does. I think we would have seen a lot more shows come into play and actually air on the channel, both the new original ideas and reboots alike. I feel like Tom Asching had this grand plan for Cartoon Network, which we know, I'll leave a card up above to this video if you haven't seen it, but we know that Tom's plan was essentially to make Cartoon Network a rival to Disney. Under his regime and the Warner Media umbrella, they really wanted to expand upon and bolster Cartoon Network's lineup to, again, make it a rival to Disney. Disney is an absolutely massive media giant that really does appeal to all facets, to all audiences, right? They have their preschool programming in Disney Junior. They have their content meant for kids in Disney Channel and Disney XD. That's both animated for Disney XD and live action on the Disney Channel. They have their obviously wide library of movies that they have theatrical releases for. They own Star Wars, they own Marvel. There's a lot of facets to the Disney brand, and Tom Asching wanted to make Cartoon Network into it. I think those were rather ambitious goals that he had. Do I think they would have worked out entirely? No, I really don't, because I don't think Cartoonito being on Cartoon Network having that much airtime was ever never a good idea. And I think the live action element that he wanted to create, because I do recall, I don't remember the name of the series, but there was a live action show that was greenlit for Cartoon Network when Tom Ashton was in charge of the channel. I believe it was kind of like a spoof of the Brady Bunch, but again, I don't remember the title of it. But nevertheless, I feel like those facets of the Cartoon Network brand, those facets of his plan would not have panned out all that well. As we saw with Cartoonito, that didn't exactly work out. I don't think the live action element would have been that successful. We've been there, done that with Stuart Snyder. You know, Stu Snyder brought in live action to Cartoon Network. People, you know, criticize him immensely for it. I said this in other videos as well, but I think Stu Snyder was actually a pretty good president of Cartoon Network. Take away the live action stuff and look at what he did with the channel. Look at the shows that we got. Stu Snyder actually did a really good job with Cartoon Network. I don't blame him for attempting live action, because you look at what Disney was doing at the time, you look at what Nickelodeon was doing at the time. Nickelodeon had huge success with Drake and Josh, Zoe 101, Ned's Declassified, iCarly, Victorious, and so on and so on. Disney, on the other hand, had great success with shows like Good Luck Charlie, The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, Sweet Life on Deck, Wizards of Waverly Place, Shake It Up. I could go on and on and on. I don't blame him for doing that, but at the same time, it didn't exactly work out. People were not fond of there being live action shows on Cartoon Network, hence the whole name of the channel, Cartoon Network, not Live Action Network. But nevertheless, I don't exactly blame Stu for trying that. I discussed this at length in a video. I'll leave a card up above to that if you want to hear me go fully in depth on that. But nevertheless, Tom wanted to do the same thing, and he wanted to rival Disney. But tying this all back into Megas XLR, like I said before, I really think we would have seen a lot of former series return to the channel, like Megas XLR, like Codename Kids Next Door, like Grim Adventures of Billy Mandy, like Ben 10, and so on and so on. But unfortunately, when this merger happened, the plug got pulled on so many projects, so many things got lost in the fray that probably will never see the light of day. Like, I know we discussed recently on Monday the whole Sony buying Warner Brothers Animation, buying Warner Brothers Studios, their whole streaming and studios business. Again, card above to that if you don't know what I'm talking about. If something like that were to happen, I really don't think Megas XLR would come back from the grave and they revive this project. I feel like, unfortunately, this Megas XLR revival, this reboot that they would have done is just something that was just wrong place, wrong time, essentially. If it happened a few years sooner, if it was greenlit, let's say in 2019 or 2020, we probably would have seen it on the air by now, and maybe it'd be having a second season or even a third season. Maybe it would have been a huge success, or maybe it would have flopped and people would not have been interested in it. Who knows? But unfortunately, it's just wrong place, wrong time for this series. If it happened a few years prior, it'd be on the air by now. But at the point in time this series got greenlit, a lot of transition was happening within Warner Media. They were having another merger. They were joining Discovery, forming this new brand, Warner Brothers Discovery, taking on $54 billion worth of debt. And obviously, we all know how that's played out over the past few years. It hasn't exactly been sunshine and roses for Warner Brothers Discovery. It's been so bad that they're splitting companies. They're $37 billion worth of debt. They're splitting into two companies so they can sell themselves once again and leave the cable networks to die, essentially. That's what's happening here. They don't care what happens to the linear cable networks. They just want to make sure they can sell their streaming service and they can sell their studios. They can pad their pockets further, and who cares what happens to all these cable networks and all those people. We just want to make sure we take care of ourselves and we get these studios sold off to the highest bidder. That's what's happening now, and unfortunately, given what's going on right now with Warner Brothers Discovery, this is probably going to happen again to whatever is in the works right now. Whatever is in the works right now is going to be the next Megas XLR reboot, because that's what happens when a merger or acquisition happens. That's what happens when a new regime comes in to take over something. They have a different vision from what the prior regime had, and whatever they were working on ends up getting the plug pulled on it, and they can it in favor of doing their vision for Cartoon Network, their vision for Warner Brothers. And unfortunately, Megas XLR's reboot was a casualty of that when we were transitioning from Warner Media to Warner Brothers Discovery, and it's probably never going to see the light of day. That's really unfortunate to see, because I think this series could have been something special, and it really could have had a huge presence on Cartoon Network. Anyways, let me know down in the comment section below what you guys think about all this. Are you guys surprised to see that they were working on a Megas XLR reboot? I was shocked when I saw this headline. I was like, really? They were making a Megas XLR reboot? That would have been something fascinating to see transpire, but unfortunately, circumstances were there was a merger coming, and this merger, David Zaslav, they had no interest in seeing Megas XLR return. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to see more content like this from DC Network. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.